Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be doing the first in a series that I've been wanting to make for a while. It's going to be an overview of a lot of my favorite series, anime, manga, and I guess like comics in general. And it's going to be in like the format of like a show and tell with all of the merch that I have. So that's why it's in this format of like the items and then just my hands. Um, yeah, so the first one that I'm going to be doing is about Patalliro, but also other Mineo Maya manga just in general. I think there's a lot of really interesting history in terms of Patalliro and Mineo Maya's work in general. So yeah, I think that this should be a pretty informative video. So starting off, we have Patalliro. This is volume number 95, so as you can see there's quite a lot of these. This is a manga that's been running consistently since, what date is it? 1978, so it's been around for quite a while. I think this was the newest volume that was out when I was in Japan. I think it's from late 2015, so there might actually have been a newer one out, but this was the newest one I found in a bookstore when I was looking for Patalliro. It's never been translated into English, nor has the anime ever gotten an English release, so it's pretty hard to find overseas. There's an anime adaptation that came out in the early 80s that's about like 50 episodes long. There's translations of at least the first like 20-ish episodes up online, and in terms of the manga, there's translations going probably up maybe until like the first 30 volumes, and then past that there are translations that aren't like fully like mixed in, like they're not actually put on like the speech bubbles of the characters. You sort of would have to read them side by side with like the raw files, but a lot of it has been translated just by fans of the series. There's also a newer anime that came out in 2004 that's called Patalliro Sayuki, which is the Patalliro characters mixed in with Journey to the West. There also is a manga version of that, and apparently a manga version of Patalliro mixed with Genji, which I would definitely like to look up because I'm really a big fan of Genji, at least the original story, and I actually haven't seen a lot of like anime or like live action adaptations, so I think that would be a good place to start because honestly I'll take any form of media that includes more Patalliro because it's pretty hard to find. So there are two, I guess, main reasons why Patalliro is still relevant to this day. One is that they recently had a stage play that just came out with it in, I think, like December of 2016. So it's like amazing, like after all these years, such an old school shoujo is still getting modern adaptations and like being brought up into popular culture. I don't think there's another like comparable series that does that besides like maybe like Rose of Versailles, with like the Karazuka Theater, but like it's amazing that Patalliro out of all of them is still like relevant. Patalliro's other claim to fame is that the anime is the very first shonen-ai ever put on Japanese television. I don't know if it's the first like gay series, quote unquote, or like the first gay couple ever put on Japanese television, but it's at least the first animated like anime gay couple. I'm gonna take this little cover thing off so you can see it a little bit better. So the plot of Patalliro is that this guy, who is Patalliro, he is the prince of an imaginary country called Malinura. He's 10 years old and he kind of acts how you would expect like a typical 10-year-old to act. He's sort of a little brat. He's also like a child genius though, so a lot of the later volumes have a plot of him inventing something, then like the invention like going awry and causing a bunch of trouble, and then he has to invent something new to sort of fix everything. The other two main Patalliro characters are Bankaran and Marahi, who Bankaran will show up in another book that I have, but I don't have any photos of Marahi, so I'll just put like pictures of them like up in here right now. They're the two halves of the gay couple that end up making like this series qualify as a shonen-ai because technically it's like a manga aimed at young children, or I guess maybe like around Pataliro's age, like 10 or so. So it's odd. It's even more odd like why they would include shonen-ai as like a subgenre. So the two characters, Bankaran is Patalliro's bodyguard. He's from MI6. He's mostly annoyed with pretty much everything Patalliro does. He is also known for being like extremely beautiful, and like a lot of the assassins that come to try and kill Patalliro end up falling in love with him instead. I was like, and then he's able to save Patalliro's life through that. The other character is Marahi, who is my favorite character. I love him so much. His personality I usually describe as being like a subversive kawaii text post, because while he has like a very like hyper feminine, like typical like uke look to him, his personality is extremely like strong and like abrasive, and he's a former assassin as well that was tasked with killing Patalliro, but then ends up falling in love with Bankuran and switching sides and like permanently staying like by his side. Just like a quick aside about the stage play, I think that they made everyone look like really, really perfect and exactly how I would have imagined them to look like if they ever came to life. I think they give Patalliro, he's not ugly, but he's like got this typical very goofy look. I think they made Bankonan look more masculine, which I think is what he's supposed to come across as not being as effeminate as like the all like the Bishonen like assassins that come. And then I'd say that Madahi is pretty close. Um, I really am impressed with what they did with his wig, because as someone that also tried to cosplay Madahi, it's really, really difficult to find a wig that can like really emulate like how he looks, because it's so long and like the curls are really, really specific in their shape. So I think that it looks really, really good. And I just really like what they did with the costuming and like the overall design of the stage play. So in terms of this book, since it's a later volume, I don't think Bankanan or Marahi appear in this at all. This one, personally, I don't like it as much as the earlier volumes. I think that the line work is a lot thinner, and I don't know, the panel design just feels like Mineo Maya is kind of like going through the motions and like creating the story. It doesn't have as much like inventive aspects in it. Um, but yeah. So this is the next book that I'm going to be showing. This is Tonde Saitama, or I guess Flying Saitama is the easiest translation. This was originally published in 1982, but it got a re-release in 2016. I saw this pretty heavily promoted in bookstores in Japan when I was there, and before I had got the Patalliro book, I saw this and I was like, that's definitely like a Mineo Maya face. Like, there is no way this isn't written by him. So I, of course, got it because, again, I want like everything related to Patalliro. Um, yeah, this is a pretty nice volume. It's I love the, I guess, like pastel colors, and yeah, just like the overall look. So I don't know anything about the story. I tried to look up through like Baka manga updates, and they didn't even have this up as like a manga written by Mineo Maya for a while, and then they eventually put it up, I guess, after this volume became like known that it was being re-released. I think it's listed as like a shoujo. It also seems to be like a mystery kind of action book, but you can kind of see what I mean in terms of like the variation in the panels, and the line work is just a little bit more detailed, in my opinion. Again, going off with like the story, I don't know anything. I'm assuming this character is a boy, and I'm going to assume that this one is a girl. I don't know if that's true. I'm assuming since it's a shoujo, there's got to be at least one female main character, and I don't know. That's my best guess. I really would like to translate this maybe at some point, but yeah. So that's all of this one, and then the last book I have is this one, which is Un Mandon. It's a compilation volume of a bunch of Mineo Maya's short stories, and also the first chapters of a couple of his more long-running series, including Patalliro, who's up here in the corner with Bankuran. I saw this book right as I was leaving Japan, maybe like in the last month or so. And yeah, it's the same format as the Tonde Saitama, the same size. This one's got, again, like a more pastel cover. The back has some panels from Patalliro and another one of his mangas. So there's quite a few stories in here. The first one is Mandon Otoko no Sekai. It's a like short story, kind of like setting up this, I guess, scene. I think this might be a new story he wrote for, just like as an introduction for this novel. And then the next one is the first chapter of Patalliro. So we got Bankuran, and then this is what Patalliro used to look like. He changed his design a little bit over the years to give him a more like goofy face, but this is what he used to look like. And then this is like the pretty boy assassin of the day for the first chapter. I've seen the first episode of Patalliro like so many times, so like this first chapter is like really like I know like beat for beat like what's going to happen. Um, yeah, I love his like early style so much. The next one is Rashanu, which is Mineo Maya's second longest running series. It's about an Indian prince. I think he's bi. I think he ends up marrying a woman, but he has a couple male lovers throughout the story as well. I don't really know like the overall tone. It seems to be pretty actiony and mystery. Are Mineo Maya's like two most common, I think, genres. So this definitely has aspects of that in it. So this is the next story. I'm going to translate it as Bizarre Greenhouse. Um, it's a horror short story that was included in the fourth volume of Patalliro. I think I didn't do like a ton of research, but I think that's what it is. Um, it's a lot different in tone than a lot of other Mineo Maya works. It's a lot darker. Um, the basic plot is that there's this woman. I'm going to say it's a woman. It feels like it's a woman character. This person. And she's capturing these men and turning them into plants, kind of like what's happening with this frog. It's like they're being like the life force sucked out of them into like the roots of the plants. So like very like Little Shop of Horrors. Um, there's a lot more like darker, like just like ink tones in this, and I really really like how it looks overall. It's really really different from Patalliro, but it's really really beautiful. The next story is Yasashi Akuma. This one looks very old, like probably one of Mineo Maya's first stories, because like the characters have a little bit more like severe like shoujo like eyes going on, whereas later on Mineo Maya has like a very very distinctive like facial look to his characters. This one looks like a little bit more generic shoujo. This one also looks like it's horror, like Akuma, like demons. And I'm pretty sure that the main character is a girl. Yeah. This one I straight up cannot translate. I'm pretty sure this is the one I couldn't translate. I'm gonna leave the title right there so you can read it. I might also type it out. Like it doesn't make any sense when I look at the kanji individually. It looks like it's another horror short story. Another female main character, which again is like rare for Mineo Maya. As again, like this is like really really dramatic and like dynamic panel work, and like the lines are like so much more detailed. Okay, this one I'm really excited about. This is a short story all about Bankuran. I think it's about his past. There's a couple like flashback episodes in Patalliro that talk about Bankuran when he's younger. Um, yeah, I'm not sure which in like time period this is supposed to take place, like within Patalliro or not, but yeah, this is definitely a young Bankuran up here. Since he's got like his shorter bangs. And yeah, that's this story. And then the last one of the chapters is Kurozaka. It's when I look up this kanji, it seems to be there's an anime that has the same title, which possibly is tracing back to the same story, which is like a just like a Japanese folklore story that's retold in both No and Kabuki plays. It has a like very like old school, like physically like this is like ancient Japan. It's like where the time period of the story takes place. This one I think is probably the best drawn out of all of the ones in the novel. I think that it has the most variation in terms of like stuff going on in like the like facial expressions of the characters, especially at the end when they're at like the snowy bank. Like it looks really, really intense. I like love this panel. I think it looks so cool. And yeah, I think that this one is really, really cool. I would like to translate this one at some point too. And then I think there's an interview at the back with Mineo Maya like talking about the stories. But yeah, that's this volume. This one I have found very little information about online in English. And a lot of the stories in here are actually not included on Mineo Maya's Bakamanga updates, which is just probably like no one ever bothered to put them up, or like they didn't expect them to get re-released, or like didn't have enough like sufficient data to like enter them in. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in here in terms of like showing the breadth of like Mineo Maya's work over the last like 30-ish years. So that is all of the books I'm going to show for today. Again, because Patalliro is harder to find in the West, I don't have as much stuff of him as I really would like. I think when I was in Japan, I saw a single piece of Patalliro merchandise, and it was a like coaster in a shop in Nakano, and I kind of still regret not buying it, but I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Like, it's not like a real like display piece, it's just like cardboard. So yeah, he's pretty hard to find. Because of the stage play, there is a little bit more out right now. But yeah, this is all I have so far in terms of like Patalliro. I've loved this series so much. I've loved it ever since I was really young, at least for the last, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years. I remember finding it when I was in high school, and being really into it. And I just got to cosplay from it like last year or so. So it's been a long time love of mine, even though it's like probably like I'm probably one of like 3 people on the internet that still like talks about it. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this video wasn't too long, but you hopefully also learned a lot in terms of just all the work that Mineo Maya has done over the years. So thank you so much, and I'll see you all soon.